Good morning, everyone. So, in order for me to have dinner last night with my three-quarter roommate, I ended up having to move this box. And we all have boxes like this probably, or if they're not in a box, in my case, they're in a oak letter box. I bought about 24 of these at one point. And I've got, I don't know how many, half dozen left. I always think that I'm going to be able to make my life better by having boxes. And I just have boxes. So anyway, this here was the box, and I just thought, well, let me just go put these things away where they belong. So, two big Sharpies. Do these even work? Yes, that one does. And let's see, does this one work? Not as well, but works well enough. So they go in this drawer here behind me. This is another Sharpie, hasn't even been opened. So I'm going to just leave that there. Flashlight. I have a book that my dad and Mom gave me for my birthday one year. It's a dictionary of sailing terms, and the definition of flashlight was a place where dead batteries are stored before disposal. So this one, however, is actually working, so very good. I think I can throw away this piece of paper. So the reason I'm doing this right now is I'm getting to pens eventually. So I'm just taking out the things that aren't pens, and the pens that just happen to be in this box will be examined. So I'm taking out, first of all of the barrel pencils, and I have a drawer about this size that are full of barrel Prismacolor pencils, and that's where they will go. I had this idea of using color. I like color on my iPad, and I thought, well, I'll try color using antique systems, non-digital systems. And so I bought I had a bunch of Prismacolor pencils, and I bought some more on eBay, just sort of random groupings, and I thought I would try them out. I have not been very happy with what I've done so far. I much prefer my China markers, which is what this is. They have a richer, sort of clumsier feel, and I'm into clumsy these days. So pen drawing is for refined drawing. For pencils, I like big, blobby, clumsy stuff. Barrel Prismacolor pencil. This is a key on a little string. Now, what does this go to? This probably goes to a friend's apartment here in the building, friend's loft, but he no longer lives here, so I don't really need that key. Here's another key. I'll figure out if that's what they belong to. Another Prismacolor pencil. This is a Lincoln log, or rather, American log. Lincoln logs were round, American logs were square. And this will go in a huge box full of Lincoln logs. I bought a bunch of them, American logs. I bought a bunch of these to create what I wanted to do was build, I don't even remember now, a couple of years ago, build life-size, human-sized, my size bookshelves and maybe a desk using these things. I thought it would be sort of a fun idea to build something using a toy that was actually functional furniture. And this came from an idea of that I saw once in New York City, and the four sons of one now dead or then dead man who collected fountain pens asked me to help dispose of the pens, sell the pens for them. And I went to their house, and they lived, the mother was still living in this apartment that they all grew up in, and it was this crazy place. It was like a mini Gardner museum, because this man who had a lot of money spent it on art, and he also was a painter, but a weird kind of painter. There was one painting that he did himself that was hanging on the wall, which was sort of like a Magritte surrealist painting that had a picture of a depiction of a Victrola, and next to it was a wooden leg, or a prosthetic leg with straps and a little Oxford shoe tied at the bottom with this, wood leg to the knee, and then halfway up the thigh with the straps and buckles and screws holding it all together. And then underneath it was written in a gold banner with black lettering, "Lola, oh Lola." And I thought that just made me smile. And then there was Roman statuary, there were drawings and etchings by Whistler, and just amazing stuff. I think there was a Rembrandt etching. But the thing that I liked the most was there was a very tall apartment across the street from Carnegie Hall in New York City, and the ceilings must have been, the height of the walls must have been at least 12 feet, if not taller, and crammed with stuff. And in the corner was this 12-foot tall, 4 by 4 foot at least, cage built out of erector sets and stained glass windows. And it was a bird cage, and it had birds flopping around in it. But it was made of erector sets and stained glass windows, antique stained glass. And I thought, I wanted to meet that guy. So anyway, this is what that was for. So that will go in the pile of those things. Okay, what else do we have? I have these little things that I use for my iPads to draw on, my old iPads, which I don't use anymore. So that will go, I have them, but I don't use them. Let's get to the pens. A yellow pencil. This is a ski pole that goes with a toy, little construction toy that makes little figures. So there's ski poles, fishing poles, wheelbarrows, shovels, and it's this German toy. It's kind of like, it's if Legos and color forms had a child, that's what they would be like. They sort of fit together kind of like Legos, in that you slide the hand, which is flattened, into this little slit, and it holds the ski pole. So things fit, either flat or they're at a right angle to it. That's the Lego part of it, and the fact they're made of plastic. But they're flat, so it's sort of like color forms, and they're all people, so whatever. That goes, I have a bag full of just the green parts. I bought a set, and it comes with four different colors, and I just took all the green parts to put in my terrarium. Maybe I'll show you the terrarium someday. Why is this there? I don't know. I'm going to leave it in the box because it'll roll off my desk. This is another one of my Arteza pens, which I've been using for sketching, and they're very dried out. But I love the effect that they have, so it sort of fits in my drawing clumsily. So I have a bag full of these, which they will go in. I don't need that. This is a scissors, and it actually cuts with a little serrated knife edge, so the cut it makes is serrated. I suppose it's used for some sort of surgery or something. I don't really know. Okay, this is a stopper for something. Here's a stamp for G-rate postage. Now, of course, you have to get your slide rule out to figure out what that actually meant. There were some stamps that were made when I was in college, I think, and they ran out of regular stamps. This is when you actually needed to, there was no email, you had to snail mail everything, and they ran out of real stamps, like duh, and the post office had to, somehow it was easier for them to make a stamp. Oh, I remember why. No, I don't. They kept on raising the price of postage, like overnight, and they somehow couldn't come up with a stamp that had a denomination on it. Like, why was it easier to use the word G rather than just call it 4 cents and be done with it? It was just beyond comprehension. I'm sure that there's a PBS documentary, hour long, explaining it. But while they were doing this, there was an A stamp and a B stamp and a C stamp. Again, why? I don't know. But the weirdest one was something, it was all words. This stamp plus a G stamp equals an H stamp, or some. Again, it was just dumb. So, if anyone knows, if there's a philatelist in the audience, explain to me that. I'll give you. You can do it in 5 sentences. Why they had to do that. Here's my color pencil. I thought we were done with that. Quarter, stopper. Another pencil. What does this do? This is a who knows what kind of pencil. Screw. Okay, these 3, the reason I'm sort of bringing these out right now. Oh, here's a pencil with an app. I have a collection of pencils with apps, and this one has a level on it. So it's a bubble, spirit level, I guess they call them. Always on the level, the something machine works. And it's a pencil with an app. So that goes in my pencil with an app drawer. I have a whole drawer of pencils with apps, and I've got a video. If you search for it, you'll find it in the fullness of time. So this pen and this pen and this pen, pretend it's not cracked in half. These are pens that I gave my father 30 years ago when I bought the company that I now own. And he used, I gave him, I think, 1 or 2 other ones as well. I think this was another one. And so we're going through his things, my brothers and I were going through his sock drawer, and he had boxes like this too that had keys for a store that he used to own, and passports that were filled up, and all the stuff that everyone has, except he had lots of it because he lived to be an old man, and I got his collector gene, his hoarding gene, or whatever I have, from him. So he had lots of this stuff, and these are pens that I gave him thinking that he would really, really like drawing with them. And he did, but he didn't use them that much. And I'm reacquainting myself with them. Why I gave him this one, I'm not really quite sure, because it doesn't have a very interesting nib. This one he like me. I take after him this way too. We draw in many different styles, and we write in many different styles. And this one had a very sturdy nib, and I really liked that. And this one had I put a flexible nib in it, and it's a Salts pen. And I thought it was a Waterman nib, but it isn't. It's some other kind of nib. And subsequent to getting it back, my brothers and I sort of allowed ourselves to take back we allowed ourselves to be Indian givers and take back the things that we bought for our parents if we wanted to. And this is one that I thought, rather than putting this for sale as part of the, clearing out the estate and splitting the proceeds, we sort of took back the things that sort of had belonged to us. There's not a lot. There's art that I made for my dad and my mom and stuff. So I think of even though my dad didn't use this very much, he used it enough, and it was in his sock drawer. I also am wearing this that he used to wear at one point in his life. He had lots of these things. I have lots of these things, so I don't really remember seeing this on his hand. I have a ring that I've been wearing that he did wear for quite some time. And I've taken it off because it's just brass, and it was starting to turned my finger a funny color, but it also was getting really sharp, and I felt it was perhaps going to cut me. So anyway, the reason I'm telling you this is it's just sort of fun to, for one thing, take a box that has a pile of debris that ends up in one particular location, and it's a little time capsule of a month or two or a week or two or some time. That box used to be empty. I have lots of boxes that I bring out when I'm trying to clean up. Like if I had to clean up my work desk here, I'd set up 4 or 5 boxes, and I'd put all my pencils in one box and all my other things in one box and all my other things in one box. But these boxes like this ended up being more like just what was coming out of my pockets. And, receipts and change and something, like all the pens that were in my pockets and pencils that I was drawing with. And they're now going to go back in their locations. So this pen I did fill up with ink after putting a sack on it. The sack had dried, and because my father hadn't used it for years and years and years, and it was just sitting in the drawer. And so I put a new sack in it and thought, gee, this was a nice gift that my father got from me. And so now it's mine again. And it's a Salts pen, and I don't have one, so now I do. So I'll, this wasn't part of his family. It didn't belong to his father. It didn't belong to his grandfather. It belonged to me, and then I gave it to him. This is just a red duofold that didn't belong to anyone other than me when I bought my company. So it doesn't have any sentimental value outside of the fact that my father owned it. I do wish, and maybe I still have it somewhere, though I don't really know if I do. My grandmother's father had a lifetime Schaefer flat top pen, and it had his initials on the top, I think. H.A., is that his initials, in sort of Gothic Old English script on the cap. And could I have sold that? Could it have gotten mixed in with all of my debris, or do I have it somewhere? I don't know. I usually, though not always, but if someone gives me a pen, I feel obligated, especially if it was a pen that belonged to their spouse or their father, and they give it to me, I somehow feel like I should keep it. And they tell me, if you want to sell it, you can sell it. But I feel somehow funny about doing that. Now, why wouldn't I have kept the pen that belonged to my great-grandfather? I don't know. Why would I have done that? Because I'm a heartless person. I'm trying to find a pen that someone else gave me, one of my neighbors gave me, and it belonged to her husband. Used to be up here. It's a modern excuse me, it's a modern Parker dual fold Centennial, or whatever they called it. And it's way more modern than I normally would like. But it was given to me and I kept it, but I probably put it in with the Parker drawer. So anyway, these are going to be put back somewhere. This one has ink, so I'll use it. This one I can put back. This is a pen. I hope I have the rest of it. The charging cable. This is a stylus that feels more like a stylus that works on a regular iPad, not an iPad Pro. And it still has juice in it, or maybe this was for an iPad. It's a generic. It doesn't work like the iPad pencil. So I thought it would, and it doesn't. So here's a Nardi mini multicolored pencil. I have a collection of these. I really find them fun. So these pens will all eventually go back, except, some of them still have ink in them, so I thought I better empty them first. This has a Skyline nib on it. These pens, sometimes these wall pens have this metal sleeve on the inside that gets corroded and it expands and sometimes cracks the threading. It's meant to not crack the threading, but anyway, so this is a pen that I think I got on eBay. Lots of teeth marks all over it. This person chomped down with gusto on these pens. And it doesn't bother me, but it would bother many of you. I put a nice sort of sturdy Skyline nib, or maybe it had a sturdy Skyline nib in it when I bought it. It doesn't really screw because the threads don't work because they're expanded. So the cap it stays on, but without screwing it. It's turned into a slip cap. And I suppose there's ways I could fix it, but it works perfectly fine. You can turn it 1/8 of a turn to make it stay, but it's. So I'll keep this on my desk, and I'll use it. I do occasionally use blue ink, and because it's a blue pen, I'll leave it here as I got a drawer in these drawers up here. There's drawers that are specifically for pens to draw with and to sketch with, and that one will hold blue ink. This is a really nice Schaefer. Is there a crack? God damn it. Where's my loop? There's probably within the reach of my hand, there's probably 2 loops at least. I found one of them. No, it's not a crack. almost. This is a really nice Schaefer pen. I've used this a lot. And it has this beautiful engraving. And I always think of Schaefer pens as owned by bankers. And not the nice kind of banker. The banker that just takes your money, uses it to enrich his own pockets or something. I don't know. It's just, or he owns a factory that, I once wrote a little story about this pen, and I imagined for this particular story, I was talking about engraving and names on pens, and I imagined this guy as a factory owner that, but because of this was written in script, and it has a flexible nib, even though he's a cigar chomping billionaire in his factory, and he employs child labor, the factories were well ventilated, and the 12-hour day had 2 15-minute breaks for the children. So he had a heart, and because of the William H. Lubin, I love the W with an M, raised up with a little dot underneath. William H. Lubin. I'll have to find the drawing I did for that. It's in this little book I made that it was quite fun. Maybe I should actually publish it, redo it. It's all handwritten, and it's kind of hard to read because my handwriting isn't very great. But this is a magnificent pen nib. It's a Schaefer Lifetime pen that's flexible and fine, and it's really a perfectly matched pen with the nib with the pen. And I usually have this up here on the desk because it's one that I've used so much that I find it, when I pick it up to write with it, I know what it's going to be like because I've used it so much, and my hand just falls right into its comfort zone with that pen because I've used it so much. This pen, on the other hand, I haven't used at all. And I bought this in Philadelphia, I think. Why it ended up in this drawer, I don't know, because the other pens I bought from Philadelphia are in a different drawer. I think maybe what I did was I wanted to try it out, see how well it worked. It's a Webster pen, I think, or unknown pen. What does it say on the nib? Is this a John Holland pen? Weidlich. It's a Weidlich pen, Ohio. And I think I also bought one that was black. This is burgundy. And I thought, well, now we've got two of them. They have this nice, it's sort of a, this would be a pen I would expect might have been made in the communist bloc country. You know, it has only the minorest, tiniest bit of decoration, this little arrow, this little band, and this peaked top and bottom. It's like the easiest way to build a pen. And there's something really kind of nice about that. It's kind of like a Jeep. You know, beauty, there's just, it's not like, you know, this was done for beauty. It was like, well, we have to stop the lathe. The easiest way for us to, Commissar, the easiest way for us to produce as much pens as we can in this factory, where we love working, by the way, is to have the lathe not stop and go flat, because that takes too long. It's just to have it taper down like this. Good, Ivan. That's a good idea. So it looks like that to me. It looks like a communist. Commie. It's a commie pen. Does it have? Oh, what do you know? I'm entirely wrong in this, or maybe I am. Who knows? I'm wrong. These ends are black. This is burgundy and this is black. So is that an inset piece? Well, here I thought it was one piece of plastic, but it isn't. I think it's two. So it's not from a communist bloc. It's from the Weidlich Company in Ohio, where they, being a capitalist country, they would say, how can we make a pen look fancy and charge more for it from the suckers that are born every minute? So I stand corrected. Let me empty it out of its ink. Yes. So this will go, I think I have a black one, and it will sit next to the black one in my, so the pens that go back in my collection. See, I know that if I put this back in my collection, I'll forget that my father owned it, unless I only have one of these, and I have way more than one in my collection for some reason. Maybe that's what I'll do today. I'll find all of my duofold juniors and see if I can sell any of them, and I'll keep this one because it belonged to my dad, or sell this one because it's shittier than the other one I have. I've got other things, Dad. Sorry. I know I've shown you this one before, but I'll show it to you again. It's a Morrison, and normally I do have a collection of Morrisons. I have this many of them. And Morrisons are really, they're a third-tier company. They're not second tier, they're third tier. I'm sorry for you. There's a couple of people I know that collect Morrisons, but they're just shitty. They're not as shitty as some, but they're pretty shitty. They're often if they have gold nibs, they are flimsy. If they have steel nibs, they're rusty. If they have plating on them, the plating comes off. But I liked this one because it tarnished so well, and the gold wash, this was once bright shiny gold, and it's all just, much of it's worn off. And even the person that owned this at one point and scratched their name with a nail, M-A-H, M-A-H. Let's not even center it, and then let's bite the end of it or something. Morrisons. But I like the color of it, the way it's faded. There's gold in the little crevices that haven't been worn away yet. There's brass underneath the gold. Maybe this was actually a silver color. What color was this originally? Maybe this was chrome, which is even funnier, because chrome over brass, that's what it was. This was a bright, shiny chrome. You know, the shiny is of course, the nib was covered in a gold color too, gold plate. Morrison Pen 5. Just a nasty pen. But I like it because of the wear that it has on it. So that'll go in my collection. Okay, I've got things to do today. I've wasted 34 minutes of your time, and I haven't really... What have I done? I'm going to put these pencils in the correct drawer. I'm going to put this pencil in a different drawer, put this where it belongs, put that up here. Put these in my other hand, because these will go back in the other room. And then I'll then I've got to do work today. Bye.